Hi, welcome to Project Geospatial. I'm Adam Simmons here at the GEOINT 2022 Symposium in Denver, Colorado. I have the pleasure of being at Cesium's booth where I get to talk to Brady Moore. Brady, can you talk to us a little bit about, well, who you are, what your role at the company is, and we'll dive into who Cesium is.
Sure. My name's Brady, like you said. I'm Director of Mission Support here at Cesium. I focus on all our federal customers and what they're doing with 3D Geospatial. And then as far as what we're doing here at Cesium, we're focused on the open Metaverse, specifically with regards to 3D Geospatial.
Excellent. So Cesium, exactly. Let's go into what the company is and what they're known for.
We're a small, non-traditional startup based in Philadelphia. We've got about 40 people. And we're focused on the intersection of about 3 different markets or areas.
And you were a spin out of AGI originally, right?
That's right. We spun out of AGI in 2019.
Excellent.
And the areas that we're focused on is pretty much geospatial, graphics, and gaming.
So, well, what people would previously know as geospatial visualization, right?
Right.
Exactly. Okay, so diving into some of these focus areas, what do we got here?
All right, so what we've been focused on here at GEOINT 2022 is been showing a number of things. Developments with CesiumJS, which is our open source web visualization engine. 3D tiles and 3D tiles next, the next iteration of 3D tiles based on what we've been doing in the community and what we've been doing across DoD and the IC. And then Cesium for Unreal, which is our open source plugin for Unreal Engine.
And that's been development that's fairly recent in the last year or so, right?
In the last year or so, right? So a lot of people have been adopting it and bringing a scalable 3D globe into Unreal Engine for simulations and gaming.
Absolutely. Okay, well, let's get right into it. What do we got here?
Okay, so one of the things that we focus on with 3D Tiles Next is making the 3D Tiles format more capable at runtime, so better performance, provide more data like metadata at runtime, and then compression for better runtime performance and transport and bandwidth usage. So one of the things that we focus on, like I mentioned before, for metadata has been exposing metadata at runtime for end users. So right now we're looking at an OGC data set that's CDB, and what we've done here is convert it to 3D Tiles Next and be able to actually click on any point on the map at runtime and be able to pull open the metadata, for instance, for a building, all the metadata that's embedded in the CDB data, and then also on the terrain, the same type of thing, the composition of the terrain at that given point that's based in the metadata.
Excellent.
This also allows you to be able to do things like segmentation and classification. And here's a good example is classifying all the buildings by style based on height.
And what would be some potential use cases for something like this?
So this application, the focus of this demonstration has been for, of course, special operations, for military operations, in order to be able to understand your environment a lot more quickly and easily. A lot of times that has to happen in a common operating picture. A commander or a planner needs to be able to do that on the fly. And so we try to make this kind of metadata available in exactly the same format that people are actually viewing the data for other use cases.
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, as we transition to your next demo over here, which looks fascinating as well, I want to ask you real quick, you mentioned the Metaverse earlier. What does that mean to Cesium?
So the Metaverse at Cesium, I'd say it's a way of describing the next version of the internet. Today, in many cases, we experience the internet as scrolling text. The next version of the internet and the idea of the Metaverse is that it's going to look a lot more like a virtual reality version of our reality today. It's going to involve all the different senses. What we focus on at Cesium is an open Metaverse. So understanding that we want the community to be able to control the data and what they're able to do with their data. At Cesium, we focus on open and interoperable formats and open source capabilities in order to be able to visualize and experience Metaverse.
So do you imagine, because I think a lot of people are, I think, a little hyper-focused at the Metaverse being solely virtual reality with the headset, but it's actually so much more than that when you're actually virtualizing entire worlds and globes and imagery into simulated environments. We can interact with it similar to how people interact with games.
Yep.
So we're completely outside the headsets too, right?
Right. So the Metaverse will be, experienced, yes, of course, in VR, but Metaverse will also be experienced on laptops. It'll be experienced on mobile devices, and probably some other interfaces that we haven't thought of yet.
Excellent. What do we have here?
So this is actually something on the idea of the open Metaverse, is something that's been generated on the open web visualization engine, CesiumJS, and it's a open source data that was gathered by a University of Tokyo professor named Hidenori Watanabe of what's going on in Ukraine on a day-to-day basis. So a number of different open source investigations, people have been going and getting full motion video of what's been going on in Ukraine, generating 3D models based on that full motion video. And then these people are actually taking those 3D models, placing them on a on a scalable globe in CesiumJS and making it available to everyone.
So they've taken these images and make 3D maps out of the images that people post from open source?
That's right.
That's incredible. Right. And actually, I've recognized some of these scenes from news footage. So the fact that they were able to grab these images and virtualize them is incredible.
Right, it is. And the fact that almost the entire process of this has been an open source exercise from beginning to end in just about every area is pretty amazing. So it's important to mention too that the guy who put this together, Hidenori, also updates this on an almost daily basis. So every time you log into this, there's usually a new model based on what you saw in the news in the previous day or two.
That's incredible. I'm sure you're a big fan of his, right?
Yeah, we are. I mean, unfortunately, it's a tragedy these type of things are happening. But the fact that we're actually able to gather this type of 3D understanding of our actual world in a virtual environment that can be freely and easily shared is kind of actually a good way of explaining, what the open metaverse might be able to provide to all.
What's the level of effort to generating these from CesiumJS? Is right.
So my impression is that a lot of these models, of course, come from, they all have links to them, and they come from Sketchfab. In many cases, they look like photogrammetry or meshes that might come in like an OBJ format. So what essentially the process would be, you take your OBJ 3D model, you bring it into Cesium Ion, and then add to that the terrain and imagery data that you want as your baseline, and then you're able to take that and stream that to wherever you want. Now the interface for this, as you can see, it's actually moving through, and you see a little bit of information in the top left corner, kind of like a slideshow.
You've allowed them to tell a story within your globe too.
It's called Cesium Stories. That's right.
Well, there you go.
Yes.
See, I didn't even know that. It was a natural fit for your product, right?
It is. So it's a good way of giving people information from a bunch of different views, but
look how detailed that is.
Dynamically, you can actually go through and manipulate it yourself. If you want to look at something from a different angle.
I mean, these are from photos, but these are incredibly detailed.
Right.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, as we're starting to wrap up a little bit, what final things would you like people, audience, a couple different things. Would you like prospective customers to know about Cesium? And then part two is completely separate from that, inspiring youth to understand what they can do with geospatial technology in their careers.
I would probably say overall, the best thing to understand is a lot of what we build is for the community. We take a lot of community feedback, and what we want to make sure that what it is we're building is useful to the community and helps the community. So especially with young developers who want to be able to do this, a Cesium Ion community account is free, comes with 5 gig of storage, and you can do a lot of this type of stuff, test it out, get familiar with it, understand how to manipulate it, get code samples to try new things, all with that community account. So biggest thing overall, get on Cesium Ion, try it for yourself, and build something like this on your own.
Excellent. Well, Brady, thank you for going into detail about everything Cesium has to offer and getting into the Metaverse with us a little bit. I'm Adam Simmons here at GEOINT 2022. Thanks a lot, everybody.